Super, we're live.
Hi.
Hi guys. Tell us if you hear everything and you see us. Chiara,
Okay.
you
Hello.
can talk to us in the chat,
Yes.
like on your right.
Yes, please tell us if you see us, if everything is working properly.
It should. Yes, they do. They do.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
So-
So how do I put this there?
Yeah, I will put it right now. I just wanted to
Make sure everything was working.
everything was working and maybe talk to them a little bit. But if they don't want to, I think you can start.
Ok.
Tieni qua.
Ok, perfetto. Da qui, ok. Hi guys. Hello. So, how are you? How are you feeling? Okay, I think there's still a couple more people coming, I'm guessing. So, yeah. Please, again, tell me that you're here. We can wait still a couple more minutes for more people to join. But yeah, so how was this IMAT test? IMAT 2024. Was it good? Was it bad? Well, today we're here to analyze it together. I'm going to have a couple of guests, one that which you already saw, which is Bianca. And we're just going to, analyze a little the IMAT test. We're going to comment it subject by subject, and we're going to correct a few of the more representative exercises. So please tell me that you're here. I cannot see you in the chat, so I'm guessing that either you hate me, no, hopefully you don't hate me. Like I'm guessing that everything is working. Please tell me so. It's important for us, otherwise it's going to be hard to start. Oh, okay, the audio is perfect. Thank you very much. Hi. Finally, somebody that talks to me. Okay, perfect. So, I think that if you guys all agree, we can start. Okay? So, hi. Yes, hi. So, how was this IMAT 2024 test? What did you think? Tell us a bit of your impressions too. We're going to talk about it later also, but it's important for us to kind of, have an idea also of what you thought, because we have our impressions, but maybe they're different from people that actually took the test. We talked to a bit of the people that did our courses, so we know their impression, but of course, yours extremely important too. The more we have it, the better it is. Okay. So, I think here we have our special guest of the day. Ta-da! Yeah, I know he's very. It's not. I mean, he's very tall, but I'm also very short.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna stay
No, it's
behind. So
no, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry.
okay.
So,
Hello everyone, my name is Matteo. I'm a third-year medical student at University of Milan, and today we're gonna correct and analyze all the IMAT tests together, and we're gonna do a little bit of analysis and correction of some questions that were presented on the test.
yeah. So somebody is commenting biology, as you probably kind of know because I've told you so many times. I'm a biology teacher, so we will do a little bit of biology together. And believe us, that's what we thought too. We thought that there would be questions on genetics too. We were wrong. So without further ado, let's first try to introduce ourselves. So who are we? We are from the TestBusters team, as you can see, like right above my head because I'm very short. Thank you, Matteo, for sitting down. Just so the so we are even like him sitting down is exactly equal to me standing up. That's funny. Like also with Yanis, we did a live together and it was the same thing. Yeah. So again,
This is always a problem.
yeah. No, the problem is that I'm very short. I wish I were taller. So we are students for students. We're all medical students, so you probably already know me. My name is Chiara, and I'm just starting my 6th year at the International Medical School of Milan. And our aim is to teach you guys and how to pass the entry test for the different universities, especially right now, medicine here in Italy.
Yes. we don't do just this, but we also have manuals, books where you can buy. Yes, like it's in this slide.
Exactly, and I cannot stress it out because we've literally just launched our first ebook that is specific for the IMAT preparation, which I think it's one of the top things that we could have done,
Yeah.
because there's literally no other manual like it on the market. So we're very, very proud. We have fought so much to realize it, and I mean it's
Yeah.
going really well. So
Yeah. I really like it. I saw it and it's very useful and it's very it has everything that you have to know for the IMAT test. So
Yes.
it's amazing.
It's very focused. You're not
Yeah.
going to find, other subjects that may or may not be there. There's everything that you need to know, and probably a little more. And yes, we also this August we launched for our first time our summer school, which is basically we had some international students come here to Milan, actually here in this very room, and we taught them a little bit about everything they needed to know for the IMAT test, but we also brought them around, so they did a little tour of Italy in general,
Yes.
Milan especially, since we were
They
here.
saw also some places around Milan, like Lake Como, which is very well known and worldwide.
If you know George Clooney,
Yeah.
that is the place to be. If you want to see George Clooney, sometimes that's the place to be. So,
First of all, let's start with what we're doing today. So first of all, we're going to do an analysis of the IMAT 2024.
so both the comment on the difficulty and about some exercises that may or may not be very tricky.
Then we're going to do an explain solutions of few exercises together. And last of all, Q&A. So if you have any type of question, please ask them in the chat and we will address them as we see them.
Yes. So, how do you look at this test and how do you reference the test? Basically, you go on our website, imatsimulator.testbusters.it. You can also just scan this QR code, preferably on Chrome, and you basically just need to register. Then on your email, you will find out, you will need to check your email because you will have a code that will allow you to access the simulator. So once that is done, you can look at the simulation altogether. I'm going to give you like a few seconds to do that. And that's it. Yes, it's literally just it. So please tell me when you guys are done and when we can start. So when you have when you're looking at the simulation. So another thing that I'd like to point out, since I know that on the PDF of the answer sheets that the Demure published, every answer is A, but what we did is we mixed all the answers together. So not all answers are going to be A. So if you find, a correct answer B, C, D, it's because, it's not because we got it wrong.
They're randomized. So you can exercise in the future for future students. They can try and try this past paper and do it as an exercise for them. Okay. So remember the website, which is imatsimulator.testbusters.it. So
yeah, I think you guys are good, right? Yeah. Please tell us if you're not. Otherwise, I think we can start to comment a little bit about the difficulty of this test. So I think this was really my face when I first looked at the test, just like at the whole questions. I don't know about you.
Yes, the same. It was.
So what do we personally think? And the general difficulty was around medium easy, because there were some questions that were, a little bit above average, but most of all were just mostly notion-based question or just exercises where you needed to apply formula. Another thing that is very important, and it's the first time that we ever see, it's the presence of no Cambridge type questions. So no kind of question in which you have option 1, 2, 3, and then option A, B, C, D, and E. And also in which you don't have any pictures, you don't have any, tables, nothing of the sort. That's the first time, even if it's not the first time that the MUR, so the International Ministry, makes this kind of test. We don't know. I think the question is going to come a bit later. We don't know if for the next year it's going to be this way. Personally, we hope not. Not because we're mean, but because I think a Cambridge type question kind of helps the candidates that are more prepared. So it's more, meritocratic, as we say in Italian. And yes, it was much more similar to what we actually have in the Italian medicine right now. Again, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the same as in the next years. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So, why don't you tell us a bit what you think? Again, somebody that biology, I heard some people that were very disappointed in biology. We were too.
Yes. And biology is always scared first, especially because there are 23 questions. So I remember when I did the test, it was always kind of scared to see how long and time consuming it was to do that section of the test. So if you want to know, if you want to tell us something about your test, please write them, or
they're tired today.
Yeah.
They're not very responsive. I don't know why. But please do. I mean, that's what we want to know. We want to know about you. We can talk for as long as we want, but it's not going to be as useful as, you know, us talking.
Or you can write them in the chat later when we see different sections.
Okay, so somebody that says that it was indeed similar to the Italian test, okay. Thank you so much for commenting.
Yes.
We really believe it. We really appreciate it. Oh, okay. Thank you, Sarah, too.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay. So about the scores, we're going to do a parenthesis a bit later. So now
we can start
yes.
with the analysis and comment of every single section by section.
Yes. So hold on tight. The Q&A section is going to be coming soon.
Yes.
So, logical reasoning, first part. Somebody was expecting a bigger variety of questions, and we're going to comment on that in just a minute. So, reading skills and general knowledge had just a very small number of questions. And again, one of reading skill, which is, again, was very similar to that in the Italian medicine test, but also it's much different than what we're used to, because we're almost always used to a lot of long texts and to analyze them and to even answer like multiple questions on them. General knowledge instead, only 2 questions, which was good.
Yes.
And I mean, those 2 don't really make much of a difference in the. I mean, they do, but not that much.
Yeah.
And 1 grammatic question. Wow, it was
something new. It was the first time that we saw in the reading part a grammatic type of question between like the Italian and the English test. So it was a news for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was very unexpected. Also because in the logical reasoning is the one with the most variable syllabus, and so I think that maybe people were not expect. Okay, so the chat is is alive. The chat died for a second. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I made a mistake.
Okay. Don't
okay,
worry.
I fixed the mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And it was about. I mean, it was still very not complex kind of question.
Yeah.
So it was just the passive verb. I think even people that didn't study really hard and it didn't, really get into the logical reasoning part could pretty much do this question easily.
Yes. Meanwhile, the logical reasoning part, as always, has section number 2 of the test, and 4 logical reasoning, which were divided between percentage fractions, probability, and geometrical logic. So everything as the ministry said to us about in the decree, it's the same. There was nothing new. It was always the same type of question in general. There was, although, 1 question about verbal logic, which was necessary and sufficient conditions, the most basic one that we can find in the logical reasoning section.
However, it's also a first for the IMAT test, right?
Yes.
So again, many firsts this year. I think nobody was really expecting that. Okay, so.
Okay.
Moving on to the difficulty. Again, no Cambridge type questions. Very weird. So overall, it was for the part about general knowledge and reading comprehension, easy. And instead, medium easy for the mathematical logical reasoning. So overall, we think, and we've set it on a difficulty that is medium easy.
Especially because in the mathematical logic part, there were some calculation to do, and it was time consuming, of course. So it might take a while to solve every exercise.
Tell us in the chat if you agree. Otherwise,
we can go and check some questions that were presented. First of all was This one about general knowledge. The 100 Years' War was principally a conflict between which of the following kingdoms. So they were presenting some kingdoms, and we had to know. So some knowledge to solve this question was about the 100-Year War was a conflict between Kingdom of France and Kingdom of England, especially between these two dynasties, where Valois dynasty and
Plantagenets, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't
For the
remember.
England. If you want to know, it was 106 years last long war between 1337 and 1453, and it ended up with French victory. So there was a new character discovered in this case. It was Joan of Arc, which was very famous. And the answer of this question was option A.
Yeah. Also, by the way, they didn't fight the whole 100 years. You know, they stopped a little in between just to rest, and then they
Yes.
kept fighting again. So that's why we call it 100 Years' War, even though there were like small truces.
Okay, meanwhile, for the logical reasoning part, we decided to check a question about percentage and fraction. These questions ask, Shelley is one of 1,500 participants in a Latin contest. 12 of the participants will receive as a prize either a silver-plated or a gold-plated pen. If the number of silver-plated pens is twice the number of gold-plated pens, which is the probability that Shelley will receive a gold-plated one? So we had some percentage in the options, and we had to do some calculations, of course.
This, I think, was probably the harder question of the logical reasoning section.
Yes, I agree. First of all, we calculate the people who will receive a pen. There were 12%, so we calculate the 12% of the 1,500, which is equal to 180. Remember to multiply by 12 and divide by 100. Then we need to find the relation between people that receive gold pens and people that receive silver ones. So we can write our system with two unknowns and two equations. So the system is solvable. We say that total number of silver plus gold is equal 180, while the 2 golds plus gold is equal 180, because we know that the silvers are twice the golds. So we end up writing the value of gold, which is equal to 60, and find the value of silver, which is double. So what are the odds of winning a gold pen? In this case, we apply some probability concepts, such as 60, which is favorable, in this case, favorable cases, over total number of cases. So 60 over 1,500, which is equal 0.04. So 4%. Correct options is option D.
Okay, so Sarah quickly asks if we can look at question 2. We will finish the logical reasoning section, and then we will answer it very, very quickly. Okay?
Yes, but you will find every single questions correct on the IMAT simulator. So if you go on the IMAT simulator and like put like what you can also use like as an exercise, or just like check for the correct answer, and you'll find every single
explain solution.
Yeah, explain solutions in the test. Last questions we decided to correct is the sufficient and necessary conditions. When he takes the train, Marco always arrives at work on time. Which of the following statements can be deduced from the present prepositions? In this case, we need to understand what type of prepositions is given to us. So it's when he takes the train, always arrives on time at work. So if A happens, then B. This respects the sufficient condition. Remember, the rules to solve these type of questions are: if A happens, then B. We can say that B did not happen. So if not B, then for sure we can say that A did not happen too. So not B equals to not A. The only option that was matching this one was this one, the one reported on the slide, which is Marco arrived late, therefore he did not take the train, which was option E.
Okay, so I think before moving on to biology, we can very quickly look at question number 2. We're not going to, project it, so please do look at it on the simulator.
Okay. Question number 2 is the question about which one is cannot be inferred from the test, and the correct answer was in this case the since antiquity mathematics have been criticized by abstractness and generality. It was true because it's like we need to find out in this case the one that it's the opposite to the other. So the thing that we suggest always is to check the correct other options on comparing to the test. If you go on the simulator, you'll find every single option explained. So why option A is incorrect, option B, C, option D, and E. We can all, it's literally explained in English and Italian.
Step by
So
step also, so you don't have to worry.
yeah, it's a text, so explaining you the text would be like reading and be harder. So like if you have any other questions, please address on the simulator on the explain solution part.
Yes, I mean, for long tasks, it's very hard for us to like correct it step by step. But basically,
Oh, maybe it was like question number 2 of the second part because they were numbered different.
oh yeah.
No, which is I
No,
think
it's
it's
Charlie's,
in
so I
showers.
think it's-
Okay, it's what.
Okay, so I think let's move on to the biggest disappointment this year. And I speak as a biology teacher. I was also very sad to see questions like this. And it's biology. So 23 questions that were extremely more manageable than others, let's say. Also, we saw a huge inversion in the trend that we've been seeing the past few years because anatomy questions, you know, also Punnett square questions, so exercises in genetics, exercises in bioenergetics were completely gone. Every kind of exercise that would be, could have been present in the biology section was fully taken away. I mean, luckily for you, no evolution type questions, even though it was in the syllabus, but absolutely no anatomy and physiology question. It's the first ever for biology in the IMAT test. And again, basically all non-Cambridge type questions, so all just, you know, straight answered. Again, first for this year. And the most common topics were the one on the organization of the cell and DNA transcription translation, biomolecules, genetics, and bioenergetics. Why do we say that it's easy? Because most were notion-based questions. So it was just a definition that you had to apply. That means that probably people that didn't study biology as hard as you could have done a, maybe not an even score as you, but probably almost an even score as you. And since biology is the longest one of all, this, of course, can be indicative of, you know, a little bit about the scores. But I'm not going to spoil too much. So if you don't have any questions about the difficulty, I think you all agree with me about, you know, the difficulty of biology. Let's move on to what we thought were the most representative question of this section. What is an anticodon? What is an anticodon? Basically, an anticodon is the triplet that is found on a tRNA. This is the, it's the triplet that is found on the mRNA, but it's a triplet that is present on the tRNA, okay? So this part here, it's the anticodon that corresponds to the triplet that instead you find right here that it's going to attach, and that it's going, of course, to be representative of just a single amino acid. So the correct answer was B in this case, okay? So I don't think there are any questions for biology, so I think we can move on to question 27. In an heterozygous condition, an allele can certainly express itself when. I think here the only thing that could have been a little ambiguous was how the question was presented, because basically the only thing that asked is, when you are heterozygous, which phenotype am I going to see? And of course, the answer in this case was dominant. That was, I think, the only hard part about interpreting the question. Then again, we can go back, for example, and look at the different options. Of course, you can never express a recessive gene because a recessive gene is, by definition, only expressed when you are homozygous recessive. Then the linked genes, of course, are nothing of the sort. So they're just genes that are present on the same chromosome. Therefore, they're more likely to, cross over together, and they're more likely to be linked, therefore associated. There's no such thing, unfortunately, as a mutated allele. There can be a mutated gene, but not a mutated allele. And last but not least, for the multiple alleles, instead an example is blood groups. So heterozygotes are not really a thing there. I mean, they are, but of course, it's not an answer that can be possible to a question like this. So the correct answer was indeed E. Okay, so
move on to the next part, which is chemistry. We can address the difficulty first, as always.
Yes, again, here instead, luckily, there were a few more equal distribution than biology, which was just like pendant on one side, and a bit more exercises. However, the exercises were still very basic. It was just a single formula that you could have applied, or a few formulas altogether, but it was nothing like we've seen before that were much more complicated. The only exercises that could have been a little more complex were long, but that's the only thing of it. They were long. So people that maybe didn't want to do it, they just left it there and didn't care much about it. So probably that's going to make the difference a little in a high score to a medium score, but not complex again. So they were long, but okay. The most prevalent parts were acid and bases and pH and neutralization. So
it was a specific part with more questions, of course, on the total number of chemistry. And differently from last year, we saw less chemical organic chemistry. So we found less theoretical questions about something very specific and that you can learn from theory. Meanwhile, more about exercises, as we said.
Yes. And also, finally, redox were present. However, there was just one topic missing, which was the balancing of the reactions, which is weird because usually they are one of the most present. So again, time management in this case, since there were kind of long exercises, was very important. So we think that the overall difficulty was medium easy. Again, because in this case, the exercises harder were just long.
We're gonna see one who was taking more calculations. First one, which was a new present type of question. It was about this law that we're gonna see in a second. This question number 33 asks a mixture of 0.3 moles of N2, 0.5 moles of CO2, and 0.5 moles of O2 exerts a pressure of 2.4 atmosphere on the walls of a vessel that contains it. What is the pressure exerted by nitrogen? So we had to have some knowledge about what are the pressures inside a container, in this case it was a vessel. So first of all, you need to know Dalton's law. Dalton's law is the law that applies to every gas, especially, and states that the total pressure is equal to the single pressure summed together. So pressure of nitrogen plus pressure of CO2, pressure of oxygen, etc. This applies to every single case that are presented different gases. So in this case, we had the partial pressure of nitrogen, which was equal, remember, to calculate the partial pressure, is equal to the molar fraction multiplied by the total pressure. So the molar fractions, I don't know if you remember, is calculated as the fraction of number of moles of, in this case, nitrogen, over the total number of moles. It's a fraction, as it said name. So it's actually not it doesn't have any value, so it doesn't have a value of moles, of value of kilograms, or etc. It is a fraction, is a percentage. So it's number of nitrogen over number of total moles, which is equal to 0.3 over the sum of every single mole. In this case, 0.3 plus 0.5 plus 0.4. The value of the molar fraction is equal to 0.25. This we have to multiply by the total pressure. Total pressure is given by the text, which is equal to 2.4 atmosphere, and therefore we find out that the partial pressure of nitrogen is equal to 0.6 atmosphere. Correct option was C.
Okay, so questions at the end. I'm going to say very quickly, since I'm seeing a lot of questions on this, we're not going to make any kind of prediction about minimum scores yet. And please distrust people that tell you what you want to hear about minimum scores right now, because there is no guarantee that a score is enough for one university. There's no way right now, unless you do a poll of every single person that took the IMAT test, which we don't even know how many they are. So please don't trust people that tell you, oh yes, it's good enough. Oh no, it's not good enough. You should have scored more. It's impossible to know right now. If you're interested, please tune in on our website, so on our profiles on the 26th of September, because that's when we will be able to know more. We will be able to know even more on October 10th, okay? No, on the 26th, the ranking list is not official. It's just a preliminary ranking list that can give us an idea of what minimum scores can be. But it's not going to be final. On October 10th, we will definitely know more. And we also have a counseling service that is free for all that opens, however, on October 10th. So I know that you really want to know if your score is good enough, but we don't want to tell you because we're mean. We tell you because we're professionals. And professionals will only tell you that it's not possible to know. Okay? So, sorry, let's move on.
No problem. Okay. Remember, options is not always option A. It's always randomized because we randomize every single options in the questions. So question number 45 was another one, which, as we said before, was long calculation, but it wasn't hard. It was about carbon, oxygen, and oxygen can react at high temperature to form CO2, assuming the relative atomic mass of carbon is 12, the relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16, and the yield of the reaction is 100%. What happens when 9 grams of carbon reacts with 36 grams of oxygen? So in this case, what we had to do were several calculations. First of all, let's proceed by steps. We write the correct reactions and balance it. So we have carbon plus oxygen, which is, remember, is O2, and it forms like CO2. So we have one molecule of carbon plus oxygen, and we find the right molecules that it's going to create at the end of the reactions. Then we have to find out what's the limited reactant is. What's the limited reactant? When we make a reaction with two different species, and one of the species doesn't have the same mass, same moles, same number of moles of the other. So in this case, remember, we need to calculate, to evaluate the number of moles of every single element. To find the limiting reactant, we always have to evaluate the number of moles. So for oxygen, which is equal to mass over molar mass, both presented in the text, so 36 over 32, which is equal to 1.125 moles. And for carbons, which is always mass over molar mass, 9 over 12, which is equal to 0.75 moles. As we see, now we can compare the two number of moles. We find that carbons is the limited reactant because he has lower moles than oxygen. So we have to understand how many moles of oxygen are remaining at the end of our reaction. Then we calculate the oxygen in excess. How can we do that? By doing a simple subtractions between the two different number of moles. So 1.125 minus 0.75 is equal to 0.375 moles. So the moles of O2, the remains, how can we do that? We do the calculation, the inverse calculation, so we multiply by the grams over moles. So we multiply by the molar fraction. So 0.375 multiplied by 32 is equal to 12 grams. We have 12 grams of O2 in excess at the end of our reaction. Then we calculate the quantity of CO2 through the proportions. We can create a proportion. Remember, the CO2 in this case is equal to the quantity of our limited reactant, so in this case of carbon. So it's equal to 0.75 mole. And then we can calculate the grams of CO2. Gram of CO2 is multiplied by the opposite operations that we did before, multiplied by the molecular mass of carbon and oxygen, so 44 grams over moles. So 0.75 multiplied by 44 is equal to 33 grams. Correct answer in this case was option D.
That's what we mean by they were not hard, they were long. Because as you can see, Matteo's breath is... You need water.
I talked for 3 minutes. It was like 6-7 calculations to do and to solve this exercise. But they were not hard. They were just like understand what was the process, how to calculate and do every single calculation. Without the calculator was a little bit longer, of course. Okay, so let's move to question 46, which is the last one that we're gonna see together for chemistry, which is about neutralizations. How much water needs to be added to 1 millimeter of HCl solution with a pH of 2 to obtain a solution with a pH of 4? What we have to do is, first of all, understand what our acid is. Our acid is HCl, which is a strong monoprotic acid, meaning when we're gonna put HCl,
HCl,
in water.
Hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
But let's call it the name. Yeah, it's much easier.
When we put it in water, it's gonna dissociate it in H plus Cl minus. H plus 1 for every HCl acid. So in this case, it's 1. The ratio is 1 to 1 with the molecules. Oops. Okay, here.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay.
I did it too. It's very hard not
So
to.
yes, it's messed up with the layout. So the initial solution, remember, is a pH of 2. So we can find out what's the number of H plus in our in hydrogen ion in the formula, which is like 10 elevated at -2, and the final solution, which is pH 4, is 10 elevated at -4. Therefore, we can calculate the volume, which is equal the final volume, which is equal to the initial volume multiplied by H plus initial over the H plus final. This is the formula that we need to use to calculate the final volume every time. So we put every factors that are presented in the text, and we find out that the final volume is 100 millimeters. Be careful, this was not the answer. The answer was how much water we need to add. What was the initial water? It was 1 millimeter. So it was 100 millimeter minus 1 millimeter, equal to 99 millimeters that needs to be added.
Knowing me, I would have 100% gotten that wrong.
Yeah,
like I would have 100. I am the person that like gets these wrong. Please let me know if you are too, so that I feel less alone. Sometimes even in like my uni tests, I also get these things wrong.
It's always tricky. You need to be always very careful and read the questions right, but like it could be tricky sometimes.
Absolutely. So I think let's move on to the more controversial subject of this year, and I think you all know why. And which is math and physics. So, I have 3 general knowledge questions. Oh, it's okay. It happens. What we personally think is that when you're indecisive between 2 options, it's always best to shoot.
So like, yeah, general knowledge is always like unknown. So like, personally, I did it too, and I remember my tests were 12 questions, and I got them like. I tried all like 6 questions of general knowledge. I think I got them like half, like 3. But like, I mean, it was like worth the points for what I thought.
I got very lucky because also in my test there were 12 general knowledge questions, but I actually saw one in like a very old book that I tried, and it was almost the exact same question, so I knew that the answer was right. I was super lucky because of that, but I also got some wrong that I also just shot randomly. So moving on to maths and physics instead. So actually this year the division was pretty much equal, so there were 6 of physics and 7 of maths, so again pretty equal. The last year instead was slightly different, and again this year most of the math exercises at least required the application of formulas. So we think that maths was a little bit easier or like more manageable than physics, which instead was slightly harder. Again, many just practical exercises, few theoretical, which I think it's not a bad thing. But again, also in this case, we did not see a very high difficulty and a high level of knowledge in order to answer to this kind of question. So no deduction, no reasoning, just, formula application basic. So if you just, studied a bit, this question was manageable. And then we arrived to the infamous question 55, which I think you all will see in your nightmares, because it was missing a data, just one, probably the time, but it was unsolvable. We even talked to people that study physics at university. We talked to people that, because we wanted to make sure that, again, it was missing a data and that it was not solvable in another way. It's wrong. That's why we're not going to correct it, not because we don't want to, but
It's unsolvable.
exactly. With the information that we have, it's unsolvable. So instead, physics was more medium, maths was a bit more easy, so the overall difficulty was medium, easy.
Okay, let's correct one question for math and one for physics. In this case, they were presented an even number of questions between math and physics, 6 and 5, or like 7 and 8. I'm sorry, like it was the even number of the question between math and physics. First one they want to correct for math was the logarithm question. So we have a function presented. What's reciprocal of the function of value of 2? So what we have to do is know what a reciprocal function is. So we have f of x, which is equal to x or function. The reciprocal function, as we can call like g of x, is equal to 1 over x. So we're going to do the opposite of every function that is presented as value of x. So in this case, we have f, which is up to logarithm base 2 of x at the second plus 12. The value of the reciprocal function is equal to 1 over everything that we just said. So then what we have to do, we want to know the value of 2 inside the reciprocal function. So we substitute 2 inside every single axis that are presented. So 1 over logarithm of in base 2 of 16, we solve this log, which is equal to 4. And then we find the value of total value, which is 2, is equal to 1/4. Correct answer was option C.
Again, not hard because it was just a formula application and you needed to know what a reciprocal function was, which if you just studied slightly, I think was manageable. But again, could be long.
Yes.
Last but not least, we decided to look at question 59, which was that of the harmonic motion, because I know that some of you didn't really like the harmonic motion either.
Yes, this was a new type of questions, we can say, presented. Generally, it's like linear motions, some like slopes or something like this. This here was harmonic motions, which was quite challenging, I think. So the question was about a particle moves along the x-axis with a law motions of 4 cosine of the omega t, where x is in meters, t in seconds, and omega is 2 pi radians over seconds. The velocity of the point particle at the instant is t is equal to 1/2 second. So which is the equals to the velocity in this case. What we have to do is know what type of motion was. So the particle law of motions was 4 cosine of omega t, and as we said before, it's an harmonic motions. How can we know so? By knowing what's the general formula for the harmonic motions. So a cosine multiplied by omega t plus the initial space that is presented by the particle in this case. So we see some similarities between these two functions, and we can say for sure this was like a law of motion. The particle was moving by a law of motion. So in harmonic motion in specific, how can we calculate the velocity in this case? We have a formula. In the harmonic motion, the velocity is calculated by the negative a omega sine of omega t. So what we have to do is multiply the negative a, the value of a is equal to 4, multiply by the omega, which was 2 pi, multiply by the sine of 2 pi by 1/2 of the second, because was the time that was given by the text that we needed to know what velocity was at that time. So we substitute every value, and we find out that the value of sine of 0 is equal to 0, and 0 multiplied by 8 pi is equal to 0 meters over seconds. So the correct answer was option E.
So,
with that was the last questions that we saw today.
Yes. Before it's over, we wanted to give you a small present, and yes, there is the Q&A section happening very soon. Here it's a discount code for you, which is 50% off of all of our courses by using ms_event_1909, which is the date of today.
Yeah, I suggest you to take a screenshot or take a photo. Just keep it in your camera roll, maybe in the future it happens to need you this discount code.
Yeah, especially because if you want to try the test in IMAT 2025, since this test was very unpredictable, we don't know what they're going to be. It can be easier, but it can be, same difficulty, but it can definitely also be harder. So who knows what's in store? It can always be helpful. These are social media, as you can see. You're following this live from YouTube, so I think you kind of know our YouTube profile. And of course, it can be useful because we do indeed many lives on also, some IMAT preparation things on how to study in Italy. So just a bit of, how to come to Italy, bureaucratic processes like this. And then instead we have our profiles, which are just for more general things, in which we will update you on everything. Now it's Q&A time instead. So I see that somebody says about the visa processes and appointments in Pakistan. So if you're interested in how to, how to get a visa and all the documents that you need to study in Italy, I suggest you go watch one of our older lives, which is how to study medicine in Italy and how studying medicine in Italy overall. It's one of the first lives that we ever did on this profile, and it can be helpful for you. I don't personally know what happens for Pakistan, so I can't really help you there. Every country it's different, but usually there are some very similar documents, and we also partner with a company that is called Italian for a While that can help you with your query. Again, about scores, what we can say so far is that we expect them to be slightly higher just because the test was easier. How much higher than last year? Impossible to tell. Absolutely impossible at this stage right now. So
the only thing that's certain at the moment is that if you scored 90, you should be fine. That's it.
Well, but judging from the Italian medicine test, we cannot even really say if you scored 90, you should be fine. But yes, if you scored 90,
matter.
Yeah, if you scored 90, you should be fine. Also, as you guys know, the difference between Europeans and non-Europeans also matters, because non-Europeans, as somebody was saying correctly in the chat before, have a ranking list that does not scroll. So if actually on October 10th, non-Europeans will know 100% for sure if they gotten into their first choice or if they haven't. Whereas for Europeans, there's a bit more of a margin of, hope, let's say. What I can tell you is, I know it's hard, but take a deep breath.
Just you have to be patient. I know that the wait is stressful. We too had to wait the same amount of time. Just take a little vacation, take a trip, babysit, do something else.
I took my driver's license.
Exactly. Just think about something else, and in 3 weeks it will be October 10th.
So. Yeah, and also in 7 days, even less, I think, because it's September 26th, we will have a preliminary analysis. So you can try to understand there a bit better.
Yeah, we can understand something from there.
Not everything, but something.
Yeah.
Okay, so the wait it's very stressful. Yes, it was stressful for us too, but as Bianca said,
We know.
We know.
Guys, we like we lived the same thing that you're living right now, except for the visa part and the bureaucracy part. We lived the same things, so we know. And if you need a place to
Freak
express
out,
these
yeah.
feelings, just do it on this chat right now. But yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, since we were talking about visas, don't worry, universities are super fine with non-European students coming in a little later because they know that you guys need to get your visa, need to get all your documents in order. So, like,
yeah, as Chiara was saying before, if you need some help with something, maybe you can Google it, but if you like need a support, maybe Italian for a while can help you.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. So we do recommend to go check them out.
Like because we know them, so
and we work with them. We
Yeah.
have worked. So if you go on our
Yeah.
profile, you will actually see like some posts in common.
that's why we know that they can do it.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, thank you very much all for coming.
Thank you so much.
And I guess we hope to see you soon.
Soon.
And we hope for you to all be our colleagues very soon.
Exactly, I was just about to say that.
Some people are saying that question 2 had 2 correct answers. Is it true?
It depends on what question are you referring to,
Because
like the official one,
Okay, there. Oh.
quella del ministero, posso guardare.
Mm.
It could be because it happened last like a few years ago that some questions were not correct, like with the Italian test.
Oh,
because-
we analyzed question 2 on the simulator, and it's we found out that just one question was
No,
correct.
I think
no.
she didn't.
She referred
okay.
to the.
No,
It's the same.
It's the
we
same.
got like
we
we got the
have
same
the
order from.
explained solution on the simulator, so you can check them.
The one about mathematics.
Ah, the one about mathematics.
See, yeah, it was this, the mathematical problem.
Okay.
So
You can-
it was not the case, as Matteo said,
Yes.
but if it is the case, you will find something more about it later on.
Yes, this live will be charged, like that, uploaded on our YouTube channel, and you can scan the QR code that will take you directly to the simulator, where you will find also the explained solutions of every single subject.
It happened sometime, like a few years ago, that a question was not correct, so they just didn't count it in the score. So it can happen. Is it possible to do the IMAT exam in Qatar?
I mean, that depends on the year. Some years, test centers are added test centers are added every year around the world. Right now, there is no test center in Qatar yet. Who knows for next year? But that doesn't mean that you can't. For example, there are a lot of test centers very close by. You can even fly there, or you can fly even to Italy.
Very close by, meaning you should take a flight.
I mean, you can also take the train, I'm guessing. I don't know. But maybe not directly in Qatar, but you can either come here to Italy to take the test. That's always possible, or you can go to test center close by. For example, there's a couple in India, there's some in Pakistan. They've even added like some around, I think, in Kyrgyzstan or around those test center. There's one in Turkey, which I think it's even closer. So my suggestion is for next year, look out the test centers and choose the one that is closest to you. That doesn't allow you to take the flight also, maybe. Can I prepare for the IMAT before enrolling in university? Well, I mean, you should, theoretically. I mean, you can also, do university and another faculty and then study for the IMAT. But technically, IMAT is the entry test to medicine in English. So you should apply before, enrolling. Yes. Okay. So, and I think that's it. So, yeah.
Every time when we say, okay, guys, goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple questions pop up.
Yes. But if you do have indeed any other questions, please feel free to write them in the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
And we
We
hope to
will
see you
answer.
soon. Yes, exactly.
So good luck to everyone. If you get to study medicine this year or next year, or who knows, and maybe we will see each other someday.
Yes.
So bye, guys. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.